My gosh, Priscilla letting her hair down mid-combat, that unlocks something in me. Girl is so beautiful. Priscilla is just so freaking beautiful. My gosh. Oh, it's so great. But anyways, episode 61 of ReZero, really solid episode, getting the backstory of Liliana. Now, I will say that it wasn't an incredible backstory, but it was a solid one. Like, it was just kind of showing that she decided to branch out on her own. It didn't turn into a tragic story where her family was slaughtered or anything like that. It's just simply, she left home. She wanted to be the queen, the minstrel queen. She wanted to be the songstress, the king songstress. And so she traveled around, seen lots of failures, and eventually found her voice. And then, yes, also found a place to stay. It really does kind of almost give a feeling like when she was brought into the city, she was, nurtured by Kiritaka. Kiritaka, like, yeah, yes, definitely stay here. I like what he says there. The idea of, I want you to be mine, like a marriage proposal. I want you to be mine. I want you to be mine alone. Liliana, I want you to be mine. But I know that the songstress can't be mine. It has to be for everybody. So it's almost him like, yes, acknowledging that he loves Liliana, but at the same time respects her desire to sing, wants her voice to spread out there, knows how beautiful it is an expression of how beautiful her voice is to want everybody to enjoy it. It was really cool. It does seem like he was also kind of, we got an indication that before, bringing her to the broadcast, saying that you can broadcast to everybody, let everybody hear your voice here. This is the perfect place for you to be. Which I think will be a nice growing point for Liliana in the future, because I don't think she's going to stay there. Again, her whole point is that she wants to travel the world and have everybody hear her voice. Why would she stay to one place? So it's going to probably turn to one of those things where I found a place, this place nurtured me, I was able to get my voice out there, I love this place, it gave me so much inspiration, but I still got to leave. I still have this dream that I'm seeking, and it's going to require me to continue to travel. So I don't think she's going to stay here, but it does almost give an argument for her wanting to stay there, which I think is really sweet, because again, she found somebody. I mean, Kiritaka seems like a cool dude. I haven't really got too much of a good impression of him before, but it seems like he's a cool dude. He's a guy that seems like he wants to, again, nurture her voice and loves her, but still doesn't want to tie her down, which I think is really, really cool. But anyways, yes, the episode proper. Let's get into the episode proper. I guess we'll cut this up into 3 segments. We technically have Liliana's past, we have the fight with Sirius, and then we have, which obviously is not over. If anybody believes that was the end of it, no. She fell in the water, she's not dead. And we still have the whole thing around, Fortuna and everything. But anyways, and then we also have, yes, this very brief moment with Subaru and Regulus. But starting off with the whole past sequence, which, like I said before, really solid story. The idea of her being with her family, they're traveling singers, going different places and doing performances. It doesn't seem like Liliana has ever changed. Like, literally the opening sequence of her is her doing an announcement and she flubs it. This girl is never going to get it right. She flubs it even back then. But yes, traveling with the family, talking about how she wants to do the Song of the Sword Saint, in which they start teasing her for her age. That's when she decides that she wants to do her own thing. Now, yes, as they were traveling, they passed by a big city. They said the Thai showrunners actually call the shot in the big cities, and that we just travel around and do this stuff for free. So it gives a feeling there where, yes, there's obviously different productions and whatnot, and they're not going to be allowed to just go into any city. But it seemed like Liliana didn't want to have that kind of keep her from doing that, so she decides to go there anyways. It didn't get really an indication that she ran anybody there, but obviously, again, shows that when she broke off from her family, she wasn't doing good. This girl was not doing good. I'll be truthful, she's not a very good singer, but yes, traveling around, eventually runs into another caravan. It looks like they were taking care of her, but even still then, she broke off from them. Again, obviously not wanting to tie herself down. Eventually running into her parents again, which that was kind of a surprise. Again, my assumption was that when she left, it wasn't that she left on her own accord. She left because, I don't know, tragedy, bandits attacked or something like that. No, she broke off. Her family's still alive. They have a new child. It looks like I would assume the family knew what she was doing. Like, they're like, yeah, she wants to do her own thing. Let her do her own thing. I mean, they're a family of travelers. They're going to obviously accept the idea that their child, once she gets to a certain age, is going to branch out on her own. And so they kind of accepted it. So it does look like they've moved on with their lives. They have a new child. Liliana puts on the worst disguise ever. I think the mom probably seen her. And again, is kind of accepting that she's doing her own thing. If she needs to, she can come back kind of thing. I don't know. It's kind of sad. But again, that's her choice. Traveling around, failing miserably. Really interesting point where she's like at her end. Like starving and everything, collapsing on the ground, talking about how she's going to starve here. This shouldn't be the end of a hero, but she's not really a hero. But also points out that I'm not a hero, I'm just a petty thief that shares their stories without their permission. What is a minstrel? So it's kind of getting the idea of like, what good am I? What is my purpose? I'm not a great thing because all I'm doing is just sharing their stories. Me, myself, I'm not special. I'm sharing the stories of special people without their permission. What makes that so special? What is what I am? And then, yes, that comes to the point where she does find her inspiration. I sort of think what it's kind of saying there is that it's not really necessarily of a theft of something. It's just that you see something that inspires you and then you sing about it. So I think what it's sort of implying there is that she's getting the idea of what her purpose is, and it's not just to repeat stories. That's not what it is. Hey, mom, dad, let's sing the story of the Sword Saint. Let's do this. And the parent says, no, you don't make those calls. You don't call those shots. And it's probably because they have the same feeling there. You're not just singing their stories. You're not just repeating their stuff. You're not just a storyteller. You're actually seeing out what inspires you. And I think that does play into what Liliana is. I was hoping they would get into it with this episode, and it might be because it might just not be true. I've always thought there's a thing about Liliana that she's able to hear people's feelings, that she can hear what people are going through, what they're dealing with, and then she sings them. When they first met her, what was she doing? She was singing songs about people being in poverty and struggling to get along. And then later on, when you have this whole encounter between, yes, the old Sword Saint, the new Sword Saint, and this whole struggle that was going on between their family, Wilhelm and Reinhard, what was being sung over the broadcast? It was about the Sword Saint. It felt like she's knowing what people are going through and she's singing songs to sort of, ease their minds and connect with them. And so I thought that she had the ability to see things of what's going through people's minds. So yes, right here, when it gets through the idea of, sharing people's stories with their permission, it's talking about the heroes. But I almost thought that it was talking about that. But either way, what it's getting into here is the idea that she's discovering that she is seeing songs of inspiration. And so when she sees inspiration, she wants to sing about it. She's reading the room, basically. And so when she goes to the town, she's singing something that will inspire people because it inspired her. She's sharing that inspiration with people. And I think that's what it's sort of implying there, that is sort of her trigger for finding her path, finding what makes a songstress, finding what makes the diva. The diva, as the Moose translation goes. It was a really cute little segment there. And yeah, technically then jumping from there later on into her eventually going to this town, meeting Kiritaka, him bringing her in, and yes, immediately falling in love with her and then wanting to share her with everybody at the same time, wanting her herself to be his, like to marry her and whatever. It was a cute little thing there. I loved it. And yeah, later on when we cut into the current time, yes, she eventually does her performance, which is really awesome. Voice was beautiful, really beautiful voice. I don't think she's and I might get some hate for this. I don't think the Seiyu is the greatest singer ever, but I think she really did fit Liliana's character, her size and whatnot, and getting that encouragement and singing out there. I guess there is an argument to be made that if the Seiyu's not like the best performer ever, it does fit Liliana in the idea that she's still growing. This girl is still crafting her craft, and she is getting better as she goes along. So it fits in the end. I think it was still a beautiful voice in the end. But yeah, after everything, the battle ends, she falls in the water. She's like, this is the end of me. Just, I was like, 07. Salute to the ones that we lost in this battle. And yes, Kiritaka shows up, jumps in there, rescues her. It was a cute little end to it. Very interesting. Again, there was a side of me that almost believed that there was so much flashback of her with Kiritaka that I almost believed that Liliana was in fact in love with Kiritaka. I think she likes him. I think in the end she likes him, but I don't think she's in love with him. And I think what that last statement she makes is very telling. He shows up and she's like, oh, where have you been? And she's like, oh, I was being chased around by a demi-beast. Your song snapped me out of it, and I came here immediately and jived in here. And she's like, I'm super tired, and goes to pass out. And as she's passing out, she says, I won't be able to say this to your face, but I'm happy to be your songstress. Key thing there, I'm happy to be your songstress, which technically applies to her entire story in this episode, is the idea, again, that she found a place. Even at some point in the episode, she's talking about how she's like all worn out. She's running up all the stairs. She's like, man, I'm getting exhausted too quickly now. I'm getting lazy. And yet she wanted to do this performance. Why? Because the city made her lazy. She got comfortable here. The people here are great. She wants to help them out. This is her grand stage because she wants to help and protect these people. And so yes, at the very end, when Kiritaka has her, she just simply says, I'm happy to be your songstress. That's all. I'm not happy to see you. I'm not in love. I almost thought she was going to say, Daisuke, I'm in love with you. No. After all of this, all she wants to tell him, all she's slightly embarrassed to say in his face, is I'm happy to be your songstress. It was a cute little segment, though. But no, let's get into Priscilla. The Priscilla segment this episode, which was kind of interesting. I mean, first of all, one of the things that we do highlight several times throughout the fight between Priscilla and Sirius is that she does have protections. That Priscilla has apparently some jewelry or whatnot that's on her that protects her from lethal attacks. That the initial hit that she took from the last episode shatters one of her necklaces. And she says, yeah, the compensation is not going to be cheap. You're going to pay for that, basically. Everything you've damaged, you're going to pay for it. Later on, she takes a flame attack and it shatters the rest of them and the necklace itself. So I think it's like 4 of them plus the necklace. I don't know if that's like HP bars, if that's like a full death experience or whatever. My assumption is that it's a death. So she basically was saved from like 5 deaths or whatever. And then later on, when she does this crazy attack on Priscilla, and it looks like she's basically been shattered into 5 million pieces, her hairband shatters. Now, I will point out, when the hairband shattered, it looked like she was pretty ticked. And that could be an aspect of what kind of person Priscilla is, just like the very first one that shattered. It's not, the compensation's not going to be cheap. These are precious to her. Now, it can be a thing about because she is so, you give a sense of like she's in love with herself. She's prideful. She loves herself very much so. She thinks she's a great thing, which I love about her. She thinks she's something special. And so whenever you shatter anything of her possession, it makes her angry. When she took the tower into her possession, she claimed possession of the tower from Sirius. And then when Sirius hits the tower and destroys it, she gets mad. How dare you attack something of my property? That is mine. Do not touch what is mine. Despite the fact that on indications, Priscilla has a lot of stuff. She has a lot of wealth. It seems like she's very wealthy. This angers her. This on her hair angers her. That made me believe that, yes, it could be an aspect of pride, but this was different. And it almost makes me believe that whoever gave her that was somebody special. Was it one of her many husbands? And it was something that's very special to her? That's the question mark. But yes, that gets into the other part of the conversation, which is, yes, a comparison of husbands. Sirius and Priscilla comparing their love lives, which, yes, is Sirius being upset about her own single love, Petagoose. And then you have Priscilla talking about the fact that, well, I have 8 husbands. I have 8 husbands. I only have this one. Yeah, I don't know who would actually choose you. That must have been a very special person that would choose you. But no, initially she was pointing out Idas and the Thorn King. Specifically, Priscilla says, you're a cur who pries in the past of others. So there's a confirmation there. There's a confirmation there that these are actually stories about Priscilla. Now, again, in the previous episode impressions, what I was really getting into was that I wasn't sure if those were stories about, Priscilla's grandparents or her mother and father or something like that. No, this seems to be, it could still be that. But I think, again, based on that and based on the fact that she's had, 8 husbands, I think these are all stories about her. I think she's had 8 husbands over a span of generations. Again, I really do believe they're hinting at the idea of Priscilla being somebody that is very long-lived and has had many husbands over those many generations. And one of those stories about their relationships is Idas and the Thorn King. I think that's exactly what they're going through. Again, still, pries into others' past could still be the idea of my grandparents is Idas and the Thorn King. But I think that's what they're implying there. And again, I think the idea of the 8 husbands, and it's sort of indicating that these weren't like just husbands that she had for the sake of money. I've had 8 husbands and they all showered me with gifts to keep my interest. These are all people that love me. Now, question mark is, do they really love her? Do they love her beauty? Did she enchant them? Did they actually like her in any way, shape, or form? Did they want her power? That's the question mark. Because again, she is a candidate for this whole thing. People could be after her and wanting to be her husband for the sake of, yes, she's a candidate. But I think what it's implying here is that this is generationals of husbands, and all of these were put into stories at some point. I really do truly believe that. But yeah, the other thing that I found very interesting in this conversation that they were having was specifically how it seemed like Priscilla was trying to sort of unmask Sirius, which is very interesting because I think they sort of did a little bit of that in the previous episode, in the idea that Sirius is trying to create this concept of that what she is creating is perfection in love. What Sirius believes love is everybody coming to the single mind. And yes, that was sort of what we were experiencing when Subaru was trying to take down Sirius. Way back there at the clock tower. What Subaru kept running into was that Sirius was making everybody come to one mind. And that's what made her powerful. If I can make everybody accept my thought process, make everybody accept what I think is love, then everybody will be one body. And then when that happens, she can't be harmed because it harms other people. If you're under the spell, you'd be harmed too. It's a sense of control. Her sense of love is the idea of everybody coming to one mind. And it really did seem like Priscilla was trying to break that with Sirius as she was talking to her, trying to set her off and get her frustrated. Essentially make her the opposite of what love is, which is anger. And yes, also unraveling what really is Sirius, which is wrath. Showing her that she truly is a detestable being. Angering her is the best way to show her that she has this nasty emotion. It was interesting that Sirius herself was even saying, wrath is the most detestable emotion. It should be full of joy. And yet, Priscilla keeps triggering her to go back to wrath and anger. It was almost like, it's very interesting. It's almost like Sirius is supposed to be wrath and anger and whatnot, but yet tries to use love to bring everybody together as a one unit. It really is kind of showing how twisted Sirius is in her mindset. And I wonder if part of that is because of Betelgeuse. I wonder if the death of Betelgeuse is something that has sort of... Now, it could just be the aspect of Betelgeuse saving her, resurrecting her, or bringing her back from the hell like they were kind of implying in the shorts last week. That could have been something that sort of skewed what she believes is wrath, or the concept of wrath is. But again, we really haven't had these characters really kind of embody each of these 7 deadly sins that they're kind of the archbishop of. But yes, when Priscilla did point out the fact that she was enraged, that she was nothing but petty wrath, Sirius did say, "Don't sully the wrath of mine and my precious. It was a gift from my precious husband." Claiming again that she was gifted this. And again, that sort of is implied in that short when it says that she was pulled from hell and that she was sort of appointed by Betelgeuse. It almost gives the indication that she may have received the Archbishop of Wrath title from Betelgeuse when she was brought out of hell, when he supposedly resurrected her. That's my assumption. It's very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting little conversation. But yes, Priscilla says, I would choose somebody like you. I question them. Sirius gets really angry. He loved me. They start fighting each other. Again, shatters Priscilla's necklaces. Priscilla, again, using the blade to sort of claim the actual tower. Now, again, it does later on indicate that my blade only cuts and burns things that I deem. So it's like she just kind of claims the building. The flames overcome Sirius's flames. This is something that she's claiming. Yeah, technically, if it only burns things that she claims to burn, she can have the flames envelop anything that she wants, and it won't destroy the item, but it would shield it from other people, thus laying claim to it. It's kind of interesting. I love the fact that towards the end of the fight, while Priscilla's being gorgeous like she always is, and she's just swatting back all the chains, all the way into the end, all the way to the point Priscilla rushing up there, cutting through her and her hostage, taking her down, all the way until the very end. It's so interesting that Sirius keeps asking, "Do you feel my pain? Oh, you love this girl. You pity this girl that's my hostage. That's love. We're all bonded together." Like, all the way into the end, she's desperately wanting so badly for Priscilla to join her in her mindset. Again, that's all she has. In the end, all of Sirius's power is built in the idea that I need you to think like I think. We need to bond so that we could become one. If we're not one, I have nothing. I need you to bond with me. I thought it was kind of interesting. But yeah, that poor girl, like all the way to the end, that poor girl's a hostage all the way to the end. I really think that girl's going to be probably a bad guy. I don't trust cute little girls. Cute little girls jumping out of nowhere, they're always going to be bad guys. I seriously think that girl that she brought out as a hostage is going to be a bad guy. Now, granted, it was technically the girl that this boy was trying to save way back there when Subaru first met Sirius. But I could totally see her being a bad guy, or at least possessed by a bad guy. Or maybe Sirius will pull a Betelgeuse and possess her. That could be it as well. But yeah, she cuts Sirius. Sirius falls in the water, and that was the end of the fight. I don't think so. I'm sorry, Sirius is not dead. That's not going to be in this Sirius. And yes, this is partly due to the fact that I still believe Sirius is Fortuna. And I'm convinced there's going to be a moment where Emilia will be confronted by that. That I think Sirius's bandages will be ripped off or whatever, and she's going to spot her. Maybe right now as she's running over to Little Kingdom, she's going to pass by the water, and she's going to end up spotting Sirius in the water, and her bandage is going to be off her face, and she's going to go, "Mom?" And, I don't know. Well, see, I mean, I would give the writer mad respect if that was never confronted. Like, this is the end of Sirius, and Amelia never knows that truth, if that is true. This could be one of those things where it's just left to the reader to go, that kind of looks like Fortuna, but it's never really confirmed. But I don't know. It could be something that somebody says in passing later on, that Sirius was, the body of Fortuna. And again, based on this little short that we had last week, it seems to imply that, yes, Fortuna was dead. That Fortuna died and Pelagus had brought her out of hell, which could be that she was dead and Pelagus revived her. It was just her body and it's not her soul or anything like that. And that it's not necessarily Fortuna, it's just her body. It's what was left behind. She's basically a zombie of what she once was. And so it's not really that important, but it could have been an interesting kind of addressing of that, which I don't think Amelia needs. She technically had that experience already, and that might be why the writer never actually gets into it. Amelia already confronted her dead mother. Way back here in the trial, she already did that. So what would be the point in her seeing her again? Oh, that's just a corpse, whatever. She's already dead. I know she's dead already, and move on with my life. So that it might turn in that way. I don't know. But either way, I don't think that she's dead just because you fall in water, you're not dead. Now, granted, she could sink into the water and end up running into the witch down there, which I think right now is probably going to be Typhoon. It could be that she goes down the bottom and maybe possibly bumps into the body of Typhoon, and maybe Typhoon will possess her. And that could be what kind of keeps her going on in the future. I don't know. I just don't think she's dead. No matter what, I don't think she's dead. But yeah, I love during the later parts of that, saying that love is not about everybody coming to understand each other, becoming one mind. In Priscilla's mind, no, that's not what makes love. And I fully agree. Love is tolerance for and accepting of differences. It's not about becoming one mind. But yeah, when she finishes the whole fight, when I first watched the episode, the first time I watched through it, because I typically will skim through it again afterwards to get some screenshots and whatnot. When I first watched through the aftermath of the fight, she brings her sword down and she says something. At first, I thought it was her making comments about Sirius. The sunlight fades, so the sun is in the shadow. That foul wretch has the devil's luck. I thought she was talking about Sirius for some reason, but I couldn't, it didn't make sense in my mind. Like, what is she talking about? But when I watched it the second time, I'm assuming it's something that she says in order to calm the blade, or something that was said to her before when she got the blade itself. I think this is probably a quote that was said to Priscilla. Now, this is something that she says to herself, and again, that it somehow applies to the sword itself. That's sort of where I'm thinking, which, yes, does believe in the idea that somebody at some point possibly called Priscilla a foul wretch, one that has the devil's luck. I don't know. We'll see. It doesn't seem like there's really much to kind of drawn from it. And again, I do believe it's related to the blade because it is talking about the sunlight. This is the Sunblade or whatever. But yeah, other than that, we had Regulus and Subaru facing off against each other again. Subaru mentioning to Regulus that he figured out how the authorities work, that each of the archbishops all have names of stars from my homeland. Authorities are somehow connected to those names. Pelagus comes from the hand of Jazu, unseen hand, which makes sense. Regulus is part of Leo's constellation, which means little king, or lion's heart, which I thought was a foot, but apparently, yeah, I guess it technically is lion's heart. The authority doesn't make him invisible, but rather stops time. I don't understand that stop time thing. Somebody probably told me in the last comments, and I didn't get a chance to read it. Regulus gets sick of it and attacks him, and then yes, Subaru's making the connection to his wives, which I think is interesting. And again, that was sort of one of my theories that I had, that possibly one of the wives was going to be the core. I was even joking about the idea of it possibly being 184 herself, is that she is the core. But again, that doesn't make any sense because Regulus almost killed her. And so it'd be basically him attacking his own core. But yeah, what Subaru is sort of doing here is thinking, okay, well, possibly it has something to do with his little kingdom. And he's applying the little kingdom to his brides. Have something to do with the numbers of brides or the distance. Some kind of condition. And so that's what he's having Amelia do. That Amelia is going there to get the brides out of the kingdom. So it seems like their initial plan is going to be, let's get the brides as far away as possible from him. I don't think that is it. Because again, think back to when we first met Regulus. What happened when we first met Regulus? He was way over here at this kingdom of elves where they were keeping the seal. He came there with Pandora, and at some point after fighting for a little bit, he attacks Pandora, and Pandora says what? Go back to your mansion where your wives are at. The assumption is the mansion isn't anywhere near here because this is supposed to be somewhere where he's not supposed to be taking Pandora. Now, yes, he could be living nearby this village and he went and got Pandora and brought Pandora here, and he wasn't supposed to, because it does kind of give an indication they know who he is. He's a part of this group, but again, it seems like she removed him from there, and he never came back. He wanted to fight. He was fighting there, and Pandora relocated him. The assumption is that she put him way, wherever he is, back to his mansion, where he wouldn't be able to run all the way back there very quickly, because he never came back there. So I don't think it's going to be distance. I don't think it's going to be distant. Though you do kind of wonder if it is distance, because why did he bring his wives here to a battlefield? That does technically make sense. So I'm of two minds here. It makes sense because he brought his wives here to this battlefield, this place that they were going to flood, which sort of makes it against it, because why would you have them there where they can get killed by the flood if they were going to possibly flood the place? But anyways, yeah. And the other side of it is that, yes, with this whole backstory stuff with Pandora, he got teleported away, and you assume it was very far away. I don't know. We'll see. It could be. I think it's still going to be a core. Because, again, there is the idea of the little Leo and the big Leo, and Regulus is like the core of this one. It kind of makes me more believe this is going to be, it's a core. Somewhere there's a core. Because, I don't understand the idea of the time stop, but it could be an aspect of it. But we'll see. That was good stuff, interesting stuff. It was interesting because, after the idea of Regulus and Petal Goose and them all being tied to the stars, I did a quick Google search of Sirius, and I didn't really look into it too much because I honestly don't want to look too much into the stories of all this stuff, because I think it does sort of spoil things. But the one thing that I did read about Sirius was that the concept of the flooding of the Nile. I'm like, was it Sirius's tower that let the water in? I think it was. I think that was the tower that flooded into the area, the town itself. So if Sirius did flood it, that's like, it's tying into the Nile thing. Goofy. Anyways, I think that's everything. That was a long recording. I hope you guys enjoyed my blabbing on about this. It was so funny because when I finished the episode, I'm like, I don't think there's really much to talk about. And then I end up talking like a whole bunch. This writer just knows how to just tease things and just kind of keep pulling that carrot on the stick. It just keep dragging you out. I love it. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, if you did, hit like button down below, comment, let me know about the episode. Again, if you are fans of the light novel, I don't need spoilers. If you like this content, you want to support channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. But until next time, y'all take care.